Sarah is in. Okay, everyone, Sarah's coming in.
We take up questions as well here.
Hi, Sarah. I was just showing my painting.
Oh, that's beautiful.
This is sunset. Welcome, Sarah Kambali. I have some
Hi.
friends here. Yes, Teacher Ilham. Thank you, Teacher Ilham.
Hi, welcome everyone. So let's introduce like a formal introduction. So tonight, my life is with Wan Nur Ain, Hartanah Nur Ain. So
Hi.
my name is Lisa by Sarah K, and that's Hartanah Nur Ain. That's on my co-host. We are both hosting this chill night out session. Whoever that's joining in, this is our live show chat on like basically chilling out session. I am a conveyancing estate property lawyer, meaning that I do conveyancing, sale and purchase agreements, tenancy, and also thank you for the heart, me, purchism, and also anything to do with estate planning means that I also could give you advice on writing a will, your wasiat, doing a trust, hibah, Sharia, non-Sharia matters, and why is it important for you to do. And on my co-host side is Nur Ain. So introduce yourself.
Okay, I've been a realtor for 10 years now. I focus in the area that's like 10 kilometers from my house. Well, actually it's Ampang, Setiawangsa, Wangsa Maju, Taman Melawati. I try not to do rentals, but rentals come to me. Tapi I try not to do it. I do more sales. I do sub-sales more. Sometimes I complain, why do I get rundown houses? But they're the houses that I get to sell. And now I dah sayang. I love selling rundown houses because I can make my clients imagine how beautiful they can change it to be.
And I'm sure you're good at your job for that. You and I have the same thing in common, one thing in common. We do not take easy cases. I don't think either of us have easy cases. Like for me, for a lawyer, they'll ask me any kind of questions about problematic cases, or it just comes. It's attracted to me for some reason. Maybe I'm a problem solver. I'm not sure. So maybe you are too. Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, like for me, everything can be solved, can be helped. And sometimes I go to the extent like, hey, I can help you, but actually sometimes I tak ada energy, tak ada masa. Tapi I kata macam, kalau I tak help this person, siapa nak help dia? Like recently, an agent came to me, minta I carikan klien dia a rental for bungalow, a budget about 8,000. So I kata, why don't you do it yourself? So dia kata, I don't do rental. I don't do rental either, but you know. So, okay, anyway. So, I cakap kat dia, why don't you search? Because I'll be doing the same thing. Dia kata, tak apa, kita nak kongsi rezeki. Dan dia kata, oh my gosh, but I cannot share 50-50. I can only give referral fee. So, dia kata, tak apa. Dia sanggup. So, we'll see how it is. I kata, I'm willing to help her, but dia need my help. Tapi...
So, your friend ni punya lead or referral ni, the person you're searching for, the bungalow house, 8,000 ringgit tu, is kawan dia lah, basically.
Tak. Klien.
Oh, okay. That's
Someone yang dia
amazing.
tak kenal lah. Tapi datang kat dia, lepas tu dia, tapi I bukan rapat pun dengan dia, tapi dia nak kongsi rezeki. So in real estate, kongsi rezeki tu biasa, but then kita kena tengok juga. Kadang-kadang ada yang membuat kita sakit jiwa. So kita boleh choose lah, kita boleh choose. But so far my co-agents are quite nice, and lepas tu kita akan berkawan sampai bila-bila lah.
Yeah, like us. Oh my god.
Yes,
Can
I
just share
told my audience
Yeah.
how we met.
Yeah. And can I just share how we met? Like
Yes, please, yes.
Basically, I was given this question by a lead about buying a property. So he approached me. He asked me questions. He gave me quotation. He asked me for a quotation. And I'm basically like, okay, I gave him everything lah, I bagi dia whatever. And he's a first time buyer. So in essence, first time buyer needs a little bit more care. And I find that that's lacking in conveyances sometimes because this is such a orang kata standard So kalau I tak suka that word, sorry. I kalau boleh strike off that word, I strike off that word because standard is not standard. When you do sub-sale agreements, it's not standard. Especially you kena tengok lah. You have to look into what kind of person that person is, or what kind of purchase of property they're going to. Foreigners line, first time buyers line. So there's a lot of knickknacks and different things.
And we're going to talk about that tonight.
Yes, we're going to talk about foreigners possibly. So when she came to me, it's like, okay, Sarah, I think he did research, and then lepas tu kita berdua got connected because he was actually Nur Ain's client in terms of real estate negotiator. So we by sheer luck, it wasn't a referral to anything ke apa ke. It's just by sheer luck he did his own research. And I
We
did my
decided to meet up.
yeah, we decided to meet up. Like
Banyak cerita
both
kan?
betul.
Macam
Yeah,
a lot of
banyak
things that
cerita.
I brought up. You say, hey, we have to talk about this. And then things then you wanted to share. Say, hey, I want to talk about this. So we
Yeah,
kept
yeah.
on talking.
Betul,
I do
betul.
have some questions for you. Or
Sure.
do you have questions for me? Okay, okay.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so I have this very also the fact that I am actually, I'll be truthful. I search for real estate negotiator friends because I find that it's lacking in lawyer. You know, like lawyers, we don't have friends as real estate negotiator. Padahal kita sama industry tau. We
Yeah.
are in industry where we service people to buy, sell properties, to look into property. So we should be working together.
Yeah.
So for me, my reason of making friends with real estate negotiator isn't because it's not only because of nak kerja lah. Obviously, people want job kan. Tapi I want to go deeper. For me, personally, because I have been in this industry for 18 plus years. This year will be 19 years, yeah?
Wow.
So I want to learn more about real estate negotiator. And I make it publicly known that there was one year I became a real estate negotiator for 1 year. Because I wanted to learn. Because being a lawyer, you just dapat letter offer tu. Letter offer to purchase tu, kita dapat. And then we're supposed to, yeah, those houses tu, kita dapat. Kita dapat the paper.
Sorry, no. I promise my audience kalau ada 2,000 tabs, I'll give them a picture of this on one
That's
page.
beautiful. She is wonderful at doodling and
I'm not.
sticker collecting. Seriously.
I'm learning.
Beautiful woman. Beautiful woman. Anyways.
Okay, I'll do
so
it.
I was
Ilham.
saying, yeah, so I was thinking I
Okay.
want to be friends with people who's real estate negotiator because I want to know what's the selok belok lah,
Yes,
the backstory, the behind the scenes.
We
you know?
need each other actually, kan?
Yeah,
we need each other.
Sebab lagi I know what's going on there. Lagi I understand the things that real estate negotiator have to go through, and we can make each other's life more better, not
Yeah.
miserable, better. So that's why. So today's topic, or rather, what I want to chill out and talk with you, right, is focus centric on foreigner purchase. So I know some of you out there are Malaysian, so tak apa. Kalau you dengar cerita ni, maybe you pun benefit juga. Mana tahu you ada foreign friends or clients or leads or whatever it is. I want to ask, in your perspective, a real estate negotiator, kan, how difficult it is from the scale of 1 to 10, how difficult it is to deal with foreigner clients? Are they like lagi difficult, lagi payah berbanding dengan local clients?
I would say what makes it difficult is because we have different rules and regulations. We have different law. So what we need to do first and foremost is actually to explain to them the steps that we have to go through. Macam if you want to buy a property, you have to put booking, earnest deposit, and then what will happen after earnest deposit, SPA, and then lepas SPA doesn't mean they can get the keys, because some of the foreigners, macam I have come across a Bangladeshi, diorang ni beli property dengan duit cash tau. Satu bag.
Sorry, I gelak.
Datang macam
That's
ni.
a lot.
Ya, macam ni. 900 over 1,000 lah, 1 million datang macam ni.
Oh my god, are you serious?
Yes, this one experience before COVID lah. And then I
Okay.
put like
And you have to count, right? You have to
because
count that 1 million.
dekat lawyer's office tak ada machine tu semua tak ada.
Yeah.
So it's all
We don't invest in those machines because we normally don't get
That's expensive pun,
clients.
yeah. So we have to
Yeah.
kira depan client and depan lawyer semua, kita kena kira. Lepas tu, bila kita dah habis kira, bagi receipt semua, you know what happened next? Dia minta kunci. So because dekat Bangladesh, once they make payment, they get
That's it.
they get their keys. So I had to explain. It took me weeks. Every week I jumpa dia tanya, mana kunci? I kata belum lagi sebab kena tukar nama. Nasib baik rumah yang dia beli tu is also from another foreigner. A British guy. So foreigner to foreigner, tapi memang itulah nanti I nak tanya kat you, what are the consents and how long will it take, because foreigners ni dia beli rumah, it will take a little bit longer because ada consent. So macam my client yang Bangladeshi tu, dia bawa duit, banyak duit, lepas tu I tak boleh bagi dia kunci.
Okay, Cok, I nak tanya, you tahu tak, dia kerja apa sampai boleh buat 1 million di
Okay,
sini?
actually diorang ni macam-macam business diorang ada. Not just in Bangladesh, in all over the world. Diorang punya business kadang-kadang interesting jugalah. Kadang-kadang kita tengok, dia jual baju je. So dia ada kilang baju dekat Bangladesh. And bukan satu kilang, kadang-kadang ada 3-4 kilang. So diorang buat baju kat Bangladesh and diorang akan distribute merata dunia. So I pernah lah masa kat US beli baju, tengok made in Bangladesh. So So that's how big their market is. It's not just in Bangladesh, but they distribute. So that's why diorang ada banyak duit. So actually orang kat luar tu, I've seen them with my, not truckloads, but bag full of money kan. Sebab diorang ada business dekat luar tu. So, kadang-kadang bila, actually rakyat Malaysia ni, yang mana berduit, diorang pandang rendah sikit dengan yang coloured juga tau. I mean like, I have to say this, kita pun ada some kind of racism. Maybe we are good to each other, Malay, Chinese and Indian, tapi kadang-kadang when we have foreigners yang daripada, yang kulit gelap punya countries, diorang memang takut. Memang ada history yang diorang pernah buat macam-macam. Tapi kita kena kaji their background also. So sometimes I find it a little bit difficult when I know their background is from macam mana. Lepas tu we can never get, especially rental. Rental is so difficult to get.
Yeah, rental is
so buying is easy because as long as they can show their deposits, as long as they can make sure they pay on time, jalan.
Yeah. Rental lah masalah.
Rental, tapi jual tu lain lah. So kalau nak kata susah, back to your questions, actually sama je susah dia. It's whether macam mana you explain. So you can explain.
Language ada barrier tak? Macam you guys punya language barrier ke apa ke?
When you say language barrier, kadang-kadang kita kena faham yang dia ada limitations. Limitations in talking, kadang-kadang boleh bawa frustration. Kadang-kadang macam, let's say dia nak cakap kat I, bila dia dah bagi duit, I mean he can definitely say it nicely and calmly or dengan manjanya kat sebelah kan. Tapi sebab dia punya language barrier, so dia akan cakap, here money, key now. So macam bunyi macam nak gaduh. Here money. I want my keys now. So macam memang macam nak gaduh lah kan, macam like so kena explain lah. Tapi macam orang kita boleh berhubung dengan jelas kan. So tapi kebanyakan yang datang sini yang Chinese from China susah sikit nak. So we need translator. Tapi yang macam dari Bangladesh, Indian, Pakistani, they can speak English. Just that cara dia bercakap tu lain sikit lah kan.
So follow-up question about the language part, right?
Yeah.
So kalau katakanlah you get lead yang macam Chinese yang they don't speak Mandarin, if you don't speak the language, French for example, I know you have a basic French. Just imagine if you don't speak it, okay? Let's just say, what do you do? How do you do you pair up with other real estate negotiators to actually have those kind of
sometimes we don't pair up because the thing about pairing up or using other agent to be in the picture, they will start asking for 50-50. Sometimes that which is not fair because I got the buyer, it's my listing. Tiba-tiba I bawa another agent just to translate. Tapi tiba-tiba nak 50-50. So it's a bit unfair. So usually what we do is we ask them if they have a friend who can translate. If they have some, so that would be better lah. Sebab I also don't want nanti I panggil another agent, then dia expect 50-50 and I know rightly it's not fair. Dia just translate je. Dia bukan transact ke apa ke. Dia tak tolong dengan the negotiation. Actually negotiation to get the price right, to actually seal the deal. Sometimes it can be painful. So kita tak nak lah sewenang-wenangnya just share 50-50 when the hard work is ours actually kan.
Your negotiation and all, I'm curious, how long does it take to negotiate?
It depends because if we have a motivated seller, kalau seller tu memang mati-mati I nak jual juga ni I kan. So macam actually dalam Tanah Kayangan Heights tu was not so difficult, but it took about 2 days. Sebab kadang-kadang I tak nak bila I dah dapat offer, I lari cepat-cepat dekat seller, this is the offer. Lepas tu bila seller cakap, oh no, this one I tak boleh nak cepat because bukan I tak nak cepat close deal. Kadang-kadang benda ni very sensitive. By taking a little bit of time, orang tu dah sejuk sikit, easier to close the deal lah selalu. So I think negotiation ni, the skills you will learn bila dah ada pengalaman. Yes. Because I cannot, if I have a new agent tanya, how do you negotiate if a buyer wants it at 210,000 ringgit an apartment but owner nak 250, how do you negotiate? So adalah cara-cara dia kan, tapi I bagi rahsia lah sikit. Kadang-kadang bila kita nak jual apartment at 250,000 and then kita dapat kita dapat offer at 220 and which we know the seller wants it at 220. So sometimes I guna juga teknik yang cakap dekat buyer cakap, we have an offer at 200,000 which is lower than what the seller asked for. Of course, the seller will say, can you counter offer? Sometimes they counter offer at 220. So bingo lah. So bila dia cakap counter offer at 220, I said, okay, let me try my best. Tapi I dah ada dalam tangan lah. So quickly just so quickly just minta dia sign. Hey, I got it. Dan lah. Sebab sometimes we need to do that sebab kadang-kadang bila seller tengok buyer rightly offer 220, that means I can get 230. So it's not easy juga because we know they don't mind letting it go at 220 and it will still good money for them. So we want to help both sides. Sebab for me win-win is good, not just one side kan. Tapi adalah kadang-kadang tu ni tak nak ni berganjak because ada one end unit terrace asking for 1.7 and I got an offer at 1.5. It's a terrace house and unit. 1.5 tu, I tell you, for terrace yang and unit tu is actually a very good offer. Susah nak dapat dah. Tapi seller masa tu lah
dia nak juga 1.7.
Dia nak 1.67.
Okay.
So I kata, can you like try to match it a little bit? Because I kata actually the banker pun bagi about 1.35. Dia tak nak. Tapi I kata this kind of offer will not come back. So I kata if we let go of this, we may not get it back. So dia tak nak. So we have to let go lah. One thing about being an agent, we need to know when to let go. Kalau tak, nanti you depress. Tak boleh. Jangan depress. Sebab bila you depress, nanti rezeki susah nak masuk. Jangan depress. So you go on to the next
project lah.
Yeah, next project. Next. Okay, my question
do you
to
have
you.
a question for me?
Yes. Okay. You asked me the process, senang ke susah. But now I want to ask you, what is the process for foreign buyers to obtain state authority consent and how long does it typically take? Are there common delays we should anticipate? Because memang lain kan kalau foreign buyers kan. That we would like to know.
Okay, very very important question. In fact, right, this question I also address sebab I part-time writing. I mean, not part-time lah. Kadang-kadang dapat opportunity tu I write for the Expat magazine.
Yeah.
So the last issue, which is April this year, this year April, the issue was on foreign consent as well. There's one on foreign consent as well. So the things that you need to look out for as a foreigner. So one of it is consent. So consent, okay, for locals, typically we don't need to do state consent. Okay, because dalam National Land Code, our National Land Code, our akta untuk hartanah, National Land Code, the only sekatan or things yang menyebabkan seseorang tak boleh beli property is if you are a foreigner. So dalam National Land Code tu, dia ada mengatakan section 400 berapa tak, I tak ingat, 441 ke 44 berapa tak. So basically the National Land Code it states that you as a foreigner cannot purchase a property and you cannot transfer the name of a property to your name until and unless you get a consent from the state authority. So this means secara keseluruhan as a whole, any property bought by a foreigner, whether it's Bangladeshi, whether it's Indian or Indian from India, China, American, any foreigner, basically non-Malaysian, and that's not just individual, company that's also being recognized as a foreign company is also under this, which means you can only purchase a property if you get, basically not purchase lah, you can purchase but you have to get a foreigner consent from the state authority in order to change the name. So in order to do that, maknanya kalau beza kalau you're a local buyer, you and me lah Norain, if we buy properties, we don't go through this consent unless some title ada this called sekatan kepentingan. So sekatan kepentingan atau in English restriction in interest. So if you have those, it says that tanah ini tidak boleh dipindah bilik, dipajak, digadai tanpa kebenaran pihak berkuasa negeri, or in English it says this land cannot be transferred, mortgaged or charged until state authority consent. So basically if you have that as a local, you need to apply for consent. Tetapi kalau you're a foreigner, if on the outset you have to apply for consent first. Okay? applying consent first, and then after the apply consent, if ada sekatan kepentingan, right, you have to apply for second consent.
Wow.
Okay? So dua consent. Dua consent, kalau you ada sekatan kepentingan, you have to apply for that consent. You have to apply for foreigner consent juga. So dua consent you have to apply for if you're a foreigner. And usually, typically, it will be the foreigner consent dulu, because in order to apply for state consent, you have to submit to state consent. Kita tak boleh simultaneous, because masa state consent tu, yang sekatan kepentingan punya, yang satu lagi tu, kita kena masukkan foreigner consent, kata dah dapat foreigner consent. Baru boleh. So in typical transaction of sale and purchase, these things will be encapsulated, or they will be reflected in your sale and purchase agreement. So your lawyers should have this thing called condition precedent. So condition precedent ni akan mengatakan that the foreigners, which is a purchaser, will apply for consent. Maknanya dia punya lawyer akan buat on his only. So apply consent for foreigner consent first, then only baru kalau ada consent lain, state consent, then apply for state consent. So typically foreigner consent takes about 3 months minimum. So minimum, but it also depends on what state and everything, because it's still governed by state. So a certain state takes longer. For example, it's a bit more longer time because diorang punya consent, diorang punya insight lah, kira macam approval process, which is not privy to us lah. UP semua takkan tahu. So diorang punya MITI ke apa benda yang belakang-belakang tu, they have to approve certain steps, and Pahang punya was backlogged. Last years when I was doing a Pahang property for a foreigner company consent, it was backlogged. So I tak tahu whether sekarang dia punya backlog dah clear belum. Tapi yes, Pahang is one of the difficult one to get a consent, foreigner consent. But you have to check with your lawyers lah, the local lawyers, or at least if it's not local lawyers from the same state, at least someone who knows or is willing to find out first before your client beli the property. So these things will be captured. So why is it condition precedent? Sebab lepas the 3 months the 3 months of the SMP will start running. That's why it's called condition precedent. You have condition this one done, this one fulfilled, then only you can start. So that's what. So it takes that kind of, the application to semua form and everything. You just have to submit to your lawyers the things that they ask lah. So basically, it's not you don't need to give your payslip ke apa ke, no. It's just your passport and also the SMP that sign. That's basically it. There's nothing else. Basically,
how about in terms of payment? Are there any additional costs, taxes, or legal implications that foreign buyers should prepare for, such as RPGT, stamp duty differences, or financing limitations?
Yes, of course. But you're speaking in different terms. So RPGT is for seller.
For seller, yeah.
Foreigner seller. Kalau you're talking buyer is sale purchase agreement, which is the stamp duty lah. So stamp duty for loan is just 0.5% flat. There's no issue there. But for
Dah naik kan?
property, dah naik. So basically, residential 8%,
Yeah.
tapi other than residential is 4%.
Oh.
So that is
no wonder we have quite a lot of inquiries for commercial purchase.
Yes, but if you are a foreigner buyer who's actually buying it just for purposes of industrial or investment or commercial, then it's fine. You get commercial property or land, it's fine. Tapi kalau you are under the impression of, because now we have MM2H. The MM2H punya guidelines or the punya terms and condition is that after you dah dapat visa, after you get your visa, right, you have to proceed with buying residential property.
Yeah.
Based on your tier lah, dia ada gold, apa benda lah, gold, silver, platinum, and also SZE, that's like special zone economy.
Yeah, that one is that one is so confusing for them, because many of them, when they see the MM2H punya table, they see that. You know why? Because property there is like 600,000 punya cost. But that one is only in Johor. So we have explained to our foreign buyers that you can buy the 600,000 property, but it's in Johor. But if your life, whatever is in KL, I'm not sure.
Plus in Johor, it's just Forest City tau. It's not the whole Johor. It's just one development. It's just one development of Forest City. There's nothing else. And Forest City, to be honest, there's nothing there.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
We're on chill night, okay? To be honest, what's it? No, nothing there. Nothing there. So
tapi I guess it can be a foreign city lah nanti.
Yeah,
Forest City will be a foreign city because all the foreigners can buy it at 600,000 and
That's
make it a township. maybe.
Yeah.
Why don't make
That's
it a
the truth
township?
really. Yeah.
Hmm.
Betul. Betul sangat. That's so true. Did I answer your question by the way?
Yeah. Because lain kan. Those
Hmm.
things are lain. You have any other question? We take turns, or I can ask you.
Oh, you can ask me another question if you have another question.
Okay, from your experience, what are the common mistakes foreign buyers make in Malaysia that we should help them avoid? So before diorang baru cakap, I want to live in Malaysia, I want to buy a property. Okay, come here and sit down. What would you tell them?
Um,
Sit down and
Okay.
listen to Sarah's kembali first, okay?
Okay, if you're a foreigner and you decide like, oh, I want to stay in Malaysia, I want to invest, I want to live here, MM2H ke apa ke, first and foremost, very important, figure out the costs. I think cost is very important because you have to know what you're getting into yourself into. Because Malaysia, every state has different kind of threshold for minimum purchase price. Okay, every state had a different minimum purchase price. Like KL sejuta, Selangor 1.5, 2 million, different zones. Okay, and then different types of properties. And on top of that, that's just zone and all the zonings and the types of properties and threshold of purchase price. You still have to figure out the cost of having a lawyer. And this is just cost when you're purchasing the property. Number two, when you already purchased the property, you are an owner. So there's a lot of other costs you have to bear.
Yeah.
When you're an owner, you have cukai tanah, you have cukai pintu, and then you have management fees. And then you have to have this really important cost that nobody reminds you of. Cost of disposing of the property. Whether you sell, not now, obviously, you just bought, fine. Why are you talking about selling? But you as a foreigner, when you either sell or you transfer the property to another person, that's another cost, So for you as a foreigner, when you want to sell the property, you have RPGT like you mentioned. If you want to transfer the property, can you transfer it to your spouse, or is your spouse, if your spouse is not a Malaysian, if you're a foreigner, what is that cost there? So there's a lot of, that's why I say, when I say cost for foreigners when they want to come and invest or stay in Malaysia, there's a lot of cost. It's not just cost buying the property, the cost after effect of it, the turmoil. People don't talk about it. They don't talk about estate planning. Thank you, Hafiz the Legend. One of my saying, trust me, Lisa is the best property lawyer. Thank you so much. So yeah, one of other costs is actually cost after you bought the property, because that property is not going to stay with you till you pass away. It's going to continue on to be sent over to someone else. So what's the cost? Whether you're selling, again, I repeat, whether you're selling or you're transferring, or in passing away to, did you actually do the proper will or the proper, if you pass away without a will, what's going to happen? What's the cost there for your beneficiaries? What is the cost there if you pass away with the will? So you have to figure that out, like how do you transfer? And if you are a foreigner company, for example, there's a different step. So there's a lot of cost indicators. So if you are to sit down with me and talk about what you need to know when you want to come Malaysia, it's all hunky-dory. It's a beautiful country. I'm pretty sure you would love it. The people are nice, people are kind. You get, like, maybe not 100%, maybe 85% people are very, very wonderful to deal with. They will help you from A to Z. No additional cost. Tapi the cost of actually living here, in buying a property, not living here as money, maybe the buying groceries and all the small tidbits are very cheap. Yes, I concede. You look at it from the behind the spectrum, like you're looking like that, memang nampak macam, oh, it's doable to stay in Malaysia. Yes, it is doable. But when you want to dwell into buying a property in Malaysia, this is what I'm going to tell you. The cost of buying and the cost of after buying. What happens after you?
Actually, if you ask me right after COVID, if you ask me, are you happy that foreigners are starting to come back? Masa tu, I akan cakap happy, because that means I have more properties to rent out, more properties yang potentially dibeli oleh foreigners. Tapi sekarang ni, we get them like in truckloads. And not everyone yang datang, nak cakap berhati mulia. Tak semua. Ada yang datang macam-macam cara. So, we really have to, actually we need a standard form yang kita kena tanya macam-macam soalan. Actually, of course they don't like it, but it is to protect us. Memang kita kena protect ourselves as agent. Also lawyers, because kita bukan jenis tengok muka, okay, ni penyangap. We're not like that. Know what I mean? I know. I'm sorry. I can be very funny, but that's the truth.
You see, this is why we cannot stop talking. We have intervals of this kind of stuff. Oh my god.
Yeah, actually, when I told you about the, when I told you about my Bangladeshi client tu yang nak dah bagi duit nak kunci tu, he was the kindest client that I had. Baik sangat. And then tapi macam umur dia tak panjang. After 5 years kat sini, dia passed away. But then I dengan wife dia dengan anak-anak dia, we're still friends. They're back in Bangladesh. But yeah, we do keep in touch. Ada rasa macam family lah. Sebab bila dia datang tu, dia memang jumpa I je lah kan, agent kan. So itulah macam kita tak tahu, macam-macam datang, macam-macam bangsa. You know, negara yang I tak pernah dengar pun, now I dah dengar. So ada baru-baru ni, I kata, oh ni dekat ni kan? Bukan, dekat North Africa. Oh, I tak tahu pun. So itulah macam, and then duit yang nak keluar dari negara diorang ni, lain-lain negara ada different kind of, yeah. So itulah.
That's a experience that not everybody get.
Yes.
Because you know these things kan, it sounds administrative, tapi actually this administrative yang menyebabkan boleh beli ke tak boleh beli, because the money comes in.
I pernah a potential buyer, kita orang siap Zoom tau. Dia nak beli property dekat Langkawi, nak beli villa. So I managed to hook up my friend daripada Langkawi dengan dia. I even ambil gambar dia masa kita Zoom. Tapi, you know, it turns out to be a scammer.
Oh wow.
Dia macam not just scammer but money laundering and all that.
Wow. Okay.
That happens a lot. Money laundering tu kita kena kaji lah sebab kita kena report dekat Bank Negara Malaysia. So actually bila kita dalam real estate industry ni, bila kita dengar banyak duit, kita tak boleh terus teruja tau. Dulu-dulu macam, oh yes, I have no problem, no budget. Ui, no budget man. No budget. Whatever you offer me, I'll buy. Dah, those I dah tak percaya dah.
Memang reflect sikit lah.
Ya, tak percaya.
Aduh, that is interesting lah. Right?
Ya, macam-macam.
So anyway,
macam-macam tu. Your experience yang direct experience, yang macam weird ke, turn sour ke, ada tak dengan foreigners?
Foreigners, ada tak ada foreigners ni, okay, there's one thing about foreigner, they cannot, in National Land Code, foreigner tak boleh pegang property under power of attorney.
Oh.
Maknanya dia tak boleh pegang hartanah tu sebagai power of attorney lah. They cannot.
That means even though dia married to a local pun dia tak boleh lah. Okay, faham.
So foreigners tak boleh pegang under power of attorney.
Okay. That's a new thing.
Yeah, tapi it's under National Land Code. So I pernah advise, back to the story. So power attorney tu,
Anita,
client tu foreigner. So dia tak nak dengar cakap I. Dia nak juga buat power attorney tu.
Oh,
so,
dia tak percaya.
Bukan dia tak percaya. Ada siap bagi dia National Land Code, semua dah bagi. Tapi dia tak nak. Dia macam dia cakap dia, masa tu I tak adalah partner. Masa tu I litigation, I associate biasa je. So when you associate biasa, orang biasalah tak dengar kan. So dia pergi cakap dengan bos I. Bos I pun kata tak boleh. Tapi dia masih berkeras juga. Dia nak juga buat power attorney. So
I think dia rasa macam was-was.
Dia degil. Dan degil. So I'm macam, okay, tak apalah kalau my boss kata, just write a simple letter that we've already advised. So at the end of the day, ni satu lagi pasal lawyers, we can advise everything to you. But kalau you decide you want to go against our advice, we will still do it, but you have to know that we've already advised you. So we will start, we will get you to sign a document ke, a letter to say that we've advised this, but you still insist at which we are doing so on your instruction. So basically it's that kind of wording, you faham tak? Macam we cannot be making ourselves exposed. Clients ni kadang-kadang kan, diorang macam suka je throw us under the bus. Oh, the lawyer made it for me, the document. But so I'm making sure we have pula dah.
Yeah, because I'm at the beach. Why not, right? Tu I belum gelek lagi. No, I better not. Adik I nampak nanti.
So, Ida, if you anyone here that has any questions or anyone,
Anita is one agent that has been in the industry for I think as long as you have been a lawyer.
Oh, that's nice. Hi, Anita.
She's my closest friend in real estate. We went to the same sekolah rendah, sekolah menengah.
I tell you, Anita, this Nur Ain, if you're still there, Anita, Nur Ain is amazing. I tell you, this woman is amazing. She knows.
Just kidding.
Tak boleh buat.
She knows me inside out. I mean, we've done a lot of things together. We've traveled together. No, I'm not too amazing. There's no such thing. That's wrong English, Anita Sharma. We did sewing together. Now we're doing stem hunting together. We do journaling together. Yeah.
So beautiful. You are beautiful. I mean, you and I. When I learn
Alhamdulillah, Masya
stories,
Allah.
when I learn stories from you, your experiences, it's like a whirlwind of experience yang macam wow, apa yang perempuan ni tak pernah buat? You know, that kind
You
of thing.
hidup sekali je, Sarah.
I'm sure. The thing that you've already done, it still amazed me because you've not only become a real estate negotiator. I mean, to be fair and to share this out with the audience, which sometimes we tell this, sometimes we don't, but I'm just gonna say it. You are not just a real estate negotiator. You've been a teacher before. You've had experience of teaching the most prominent people or their kids, whatever. So there's a lot of information about your life that it's amazing to me, and I'm very in awe. You know, that kind of thing. So
I'm going for the writing class this weekend.
nice. Oh, Sunday with Jonathan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
You dah register lah.
Apa dia?
You dah register dah.
Dah. I feel that memang ada banyak story. I don't know, but I keep writing lah. I try lah kan. So just to show you, this is my. I started anyway. Jonathan said just start. So I just start tulis. So I want to learn more how to.
It's a nice workshop in the sense that you can it's like how my master tells me, you know, if things get complicated, come back to the basics.
Yeah.
So going to this workshop, you might already know what to write, but then you need to know how to center it or how to make it like it might sound like macam alah benda ni logic, but no, it's not, because sometimes logical stuff or very basic stuff are the stuff that we forget or we miss. So bila I actually went for Jonathan's class, then I was like, oh yeah, I should be doing this. So no, you have to experience it yourself, then only you realize, oh okay, because to be honest, it's really a basic kind of writing yang
I like that.
yang gives you back a central kind of feel.
Because it has to be authentic, you know. I like writings that's authentic, that comes from that author's insight. So that kind
I'm
of,
so excited for you. Hey, Priya, thank you. I didn't notice you come in. Thank you, Priya. So this is my friend, Noor Ain. She's a real estate negotiator. We're just having a chill out session. And I think it's almost time to go actually, Priya, because tahu tak, kita dah cakap 1 jam dah.
yeah.
Or at least another 10 more minutes. But you have a call to come up to, kan?
I have a date.
I'm so happy for you.
Anita, don't tell anyone, Anita. Shh. Saja. I'm trying to get Anita to go for Jonathan's class, but she won't be around. Yeah, she would love that. Nantilah, Anita, nanti I introduce you dekat Jonathan. Jonathan is our mutual friend. By the way, Anita, Sarah and we met because of my client when I closed the Kayangan Heights land deal. So my client, the buyer, actually got Sarah online and gave Sarah's number to me, and we just decided to meet. We went to Bangsa Shopping Complex.
Yes.
Dekat
We
bawah.
had coffee and
orange.
and then we started talking with each other like old friends.
Old friends, like we've met.
Inshallah, we'll do
Yes.
it again. We're supposed to do it every Wednesday, tapi
Yeah,
you and
we've been
I
lacking a bit.
We've been lacking because we both had things to get done, and
The
sometimes
truth
we
is,
don't
I'm
plan.
getting old. Sarah is a youngster. I mean, she's got all the energy. Okay, we'll see you next week, inshallah.
Yes,
We try to make
inshallah
time.
we'll do.
As long as we can start at 9, I'm happy, because
Yeah.
I need 9:30 je I let it
faham.
9.
But and anyone who's still here, Anita, Priya, whoever's still here, if you guys have any questions
Yeah,
for
yeah.
next Wednesday, we are
Let us
open
know.
to answering questions. Or you next week ask us questions and we will answer them. Yeah.
Not good. All right, Sarah, you take care.
Have a good day.
You have a yes. Have a good week.
Thank you. You too. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.